Welcome. In this explainer, we're going to break down the quality systems you absolutely need to know, not just for your NHA/CPT exam, but for your entire career. We'll cover the essential procedures that keep patients safe and make sure clinicians get results they can trust. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We've got 5 key areas to walk through. We'll start with the real foundation of quality, then move into the patient encounter and what makes a perfect collection. From there, we'll talk about protecting that specimen, and we'll wrap up by looking at how data helps us improve every single day. All right, first up, the foundation of quality. Let's really get into the why behind all of this, because it's all about patient safety and getting accurate results. So let's talk about quality assurance, or QA. Think of QA as the entire blueprint for everything we do. It's the big picture stuff. Your training programs, the standard operating procedures, your competency checks, all of it is designed to stop errors before they even have a chance to happen. And then there's quality control, or QC. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road. These are the specific hands-on tasks you're doing every single day. Checking the expiration dates on your tubes, logging the temperature of the refrigerator. QC is all about detecting problems right then and there.
This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? For your exam, if you need to remember one thing, it's this. QA is the big plan to prevent errors, while QC is the daily check-in to detect them. Proactive versus reactive.
So who actually makes all these rules? Well, it's really a group effort, and you'll definitely want to know who the key players are for your exam. CLIA sets the big federal regulations for all labs. CLSI gets into the nitty-gritty and develops the standards we follow. And the Joint Commission is super focused on national patient safety goals, like, you guessed it, proper patient ID. Okay, that brings us to the patient encounter. This is where all those big ideas about quality become real hands-on actions that directly protect the person in front of you. Believe it or not, the quality process starts before you even think about picking up a needle. Your very first step should always be checking the lab's test catalog for any special patient prep. Asking those key questions. Does this patient need to be fasting, or are there specific timing rules around their medications? And you'll really want to pay attention to this last one on biotin. This is a huge topic for your exam. High-dose biotin, which is in a ton of supplements, can seriously mess with a lot of common lab tests, so you always have to ask if they take it and make sure you document their answer. This is it. We've arrived at what is, without a doubt, the single most critical step in all of phlebotomy. Getting patient identification right, every single time, is the #1 way we prevent some of the most devastating and avoidable errors in healthcare. Now, the key here is that this is an active process. You aren't just glancing at the wristband. You have to ask the patient to state their full name and date of birth out loud. Then, you actively compare what they said to both the requisition and their wristband. If anything doesn't match perfectly, you stop. You don't proceed until it's resolved. This slide shows you exactly what we mean by a unique identifier. Full name and date of birth are the gold standard. A medical record number works too. But look at what's not acceptable. The patient's room or bed number, and that's a classic exam question, so make sure you lock that one in. A room number tells you where someone is, not who they are. Okay, this is huge. It's a non-negotiable safety rule, and I can pretty much guarantee you'll see it on your exam. If you find any kind of labeling mistake, there's only one right answer. Get rid of the sample, start the entire patient ID process over from scratch, and draw a new one. You never ever just fix a label. Moving on to Section 3, the perfect collection. Now that our patient is correctly identified, we can focus on the quality of the draw itself. And that starts with our supplies and our technique. I want you to start thinking of every piece of your equipment as its own little quality control checkpoint. Before you grab a tube, glance at that expiration date. Why? Because an expired tube might not have enough vacuum, giving you a short draw, or the additive inside might not work correctly. Either way, that specimen is getting rejected. Okay, let's be really clear about this one. This is a hard and fast rule. You have to label every single tube right after you draw it at the bedside while the patient is still with you. There are 0 exceptions. This is your last line of defense against a wrong blood in tube error, which is one of the most dangerous mistakes you can make. For your exam, you have to know the order of draw, period. It's not just a random list. It's scientifically designed to prevent the additive from one tube from contaminating the next. For instance, if even a tiny bit of EDTA from a lavender top gets into a serum tube, it can mess up the chemistry results and lead to a patient getting the wrong treatment.
The second that tube is full, you need to gently invert it. And I really do mean gently. You're not making a milkshake here. It's just a smooth, easy turn of the wrist. This simple little step is what mixes the blood with the additive and prevents tiny little clots that can jam up the analyzers and destroy the sample.
When it comes to the light blue top tubes we use for coagulation tests, getting a full draw isn't just a suggestion, it's mandatory. The tube is built to create a super precise 9-to-1 ratio of blood to additive. If you short that draw, the ratio is off, the test results are useless, and that means the patient has to go through another stick, all because of a short draw. All right, on to section 4, protecting the specimen. See, a perfect draw is amazing, but it's not the end of our job. Now we have to make sure that quality is maintained all the way from the patient's room to the laboratory.
You know, the second that blood leaves the patient's vein, the clock starts ticking. Things inside the tube start to change. Analytes can break down, cells keep on working. Our job is to control the specimen's environment during transport to slow down or stop those changes.
Okay, this is another one of those areas that's just packed with potential exam questions. You have to know which tests need special handling. For example, lactate and ammonia need to go on an ice slurry right away. Bilirubin has to be protected from light. And some tests, like for cryoglobulins, actually need to be kept warm at body temperature.
And that brings us to our final section, using data to improve. Let's look at how labs today use cold, hard data, not just hope, to make sure quality is always a priority. We'll look at the tools they use to track how they're doing and make things better. So at the heart of any data-driven quality system are these two concepts, indicators and thresholds. Think of it this way. Indicators are what we measure, like our rate of hemolyzed or damaged specimens. Thresholds are the line in the sand that tells us when we have to act, like saying our hemolysis rate can't go above 2%. And the response is always scaled to the risk. So if there's a small issue, like the hemolysis rate ticks up just a tiny bit, that might just lead to some simple coaching. But if something major happens, like a wrong blood in tube event, that triggers an immediate, all-hands-on-deck investigation. Now, a Delta check is pretty cool. It's basically an automated safety net that's built into the lab's computer system. It automatically takes a patient's new lab result and compares it to their older ones. If it sees a change that's just not plausible, like a patient's hemoglobin getting cut in half overnight for no reason, it flags it for review. So, what happens when a Delta check fails? Well, it kicks off an investigation. That sudden drop in hematocrit could mean the sample was drawn above an IV, or worse, from the wrong patient. A sharp drop in platelets, that often points to a clotted sample because it wasn't inverted properly. The first move is always to go back to square one. Re-verify the patient ID and check the specimen itself. So to wrap this part up, let's just recap. Indicators are like a report card. They tell us how we're doing. Thresholds are the alarm bells that tell us when we need to step in and fix something. And Delta checks are that final, crucial safety net to catch those really big errors. All three work together to create a truly robust quality system. So as you're studying for your exam, I want you to think beyond just memorizing these steps. I want you to understand the why behind every single rule. Why do we need two identifiers? Why is the order of draw so important? When you truly understand the reasons, you're not just getting ready to pass an exam, you're getting ready to be a professional whose work is built on a solid, unshakable foundation of quality. Good luck.